Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Andrew Rogerson, founder of Rogerson Business Services. Andrew, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Andrew, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
I'm based in Sacramento, California, and I have a license with the California Department of Real Estate. So the market I serve is in California, and there's two main services I provide: valuing a business, and if it makes sense, we keep going and see if we can get an exit for the owner of the business and sell the business for them.
So we've been hearing a lot in the news about the Great Resignation, and the question on a lot of folks' minds is, how has it affected your areas there in California? Are you really seeing a lot more buyers in the market looking for businesses to run and purchase? And what has that done for your sellers?
There's good interest in buying a business. I'd say it's a little bit elevated than what it normally is. And I think what's happening is the business owners, especially those thinking of retiring, they're really paying attention to, hey, is this the right time to get out? Interest rates are low. Business multiples, they're doing okay. Sellers' expectations are typically their value expectations are too high, and buyers' expectation is they want to bring it down. And then you have the lenders in the middle, because most buyers need to get a loan to buy a business, and so the lenders tend to be the other variable in that combination.
When sellers reach out to you, how well prepared are they? Are they experienced
Mhm.
in the process, or do they have a lot to learn?
They have a lot to learn, and again, I don't say that critically, but there's a process involved, and most business owners, especially the ones that the baby boomer age, their business has been their life, and so going through this unknown phase of exiting their business, it's very unsettling to them, because they're letting go of their lifetime's work, plus they're stepping into a process that they haven't done before. And if they're successful selling their business, which is what I coach a lot of business owners with, what do you plan to do after you close the sale of your business? Because their business has been important to them and their life goals. And so lots of variables in there, and it varies with each person.
So with these new sellers, kind of give us a glimpse inside of like, what should they be asking? What should they know as they prepare for their businesses sale?
Well, I like to know that the seller has something to move to that's as equally important to them as running their business. And if they've got that in place, that's a really good thing. And then again, I'm simplifying things to present this to you, but getting a value for the business is one of the critical steps. Because as I mentioned, the seller has an expectation that the business is worth $X because they've done 40 years of work. But that's not the reality. The reality is what's the business cash flowing? That's the critical piece. I like to give the example. If I've got a business that's doing $5 million a year in gross revenue, and it costs me $6 million to run the business, that ain't very attractive. But if I've got a business doing $5 million and it costs me $1 million to run that business, hey, now we've got something to talk about.
Andrew, that what's fascinating that you mentioned is asking what the next step is for that seller.
Yes.
That's interesting. Why is that so important for you to know?
Because I get the pushback. Well, I'm going to go and play some golf and play with the grandkids, and so my immediate response is, well, you can go and do that now. You don't need to sell your business to go and play golf and play with the grandkids. What do you see yourself doing when you're free up 50, 60, 70 hours a week? What do you see yourself doing? And a lot of business owners haven't thought that through, because the business is demanding, just by definition. A privately held business, be it in California or anywhere in the US, there's things to do. The Great Resignation you're talking about with labor. what I'm reading is that labor's leaving because they can get paid more elsewhere. And so that's putting pressure on businesses that can't increase their prices or don't want to increase their prices because they need to bring in new labor and pay a higher amount. And so these are the things on a daily basis that a business owner deals with. And, it takes time and energy and enthusiasm to manage those things.
You messaged to me, and you mentioned that California does things differently due to like state and local laws and regulations. Can you give us some
Yes.
examples of some of the things that you have to manage and help sellers with in
Yeah,
California?
California is different. I'd like to share. California is now the fifth largest economy in the world. If you were to, if California was its own country, it's just replaced the UK. The UK is going through Brexit, and in my humble opinion, they're making a mess of it, and so it's affecting their economy. And California is doing well. And because it's such a large economy, it's more regulated than other states in the US. Just the fact I need to have a real estate license to sell a business isn't a necessity in every state in the US. If you're in the construction industry, I'll just give you a couple of examples. If you're in the construction industry, you have to have a contractor's license, and a lot of states in the US don't have that requirement. If you're a manufacturing business, we've got EPA requirements to take care of. We've got California Department of Motor Vehicle requirements if you're moving things around the state. And so the list goes on. And when I'm valuing and selling a business and getting into the sale, we also use an escrow process to protect the buyer. And again, the escrow process, it is used in some other states in the US, but it's a California requirement that the business go through an escrow process. And again, just an extra layer in getting the deal closed for the seller and the buyer.
Quite a bit to navigate. I could see why they can use help with that. Andrew, what inspired you to become a business intermediary and help other businesses sell? How'd you get started?
I got started. I have an interesting family dynamic. I'm from Australia, but my grandfather had three of his boys coming home after World War II, and one of the boys said, let's see if we can get Kenworth Trucks to come to Australia and start their franchise." And so one of my uncles was entrepreneurial, and my grandfather was a successful business person. And so I've inherited that gene. I'm certainly not as entrepreneurial as one of my uncles who went to Kenworth Trucks in Seattle, Washington, and eventually encouraged them to let him start the Kenworth franchise in Australia. But I have an entrepreneur. I've owned 5 businesses, 2 in Australia, and I've been in California about 27 years, and I've had 3 businesses in California. And that's who I am. I enjoy working with small business people, and I've been selling businesses, been doing brokerage work for about the last 17 years. And so got a few cuts and bruises from doing all of that.
Andrew, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel is important to share in regards to selling a business today?
It's a complex process, and that's the thing. It's unique to every business in each industry. And so one of the things I do is sell a medical practice. And if I just say selling a medical practice, that's incredibly broad because you're talking about family care, urgent care, podiatry, optometry. You just keep going through the disciplines. And so it's critical to know the business that's being sold and the requirements that the buyer needs to have. Because I get inquiries from buyers that want to buy a medical practice because they think it's a great investment, but then the California Medical Board would not let them own and operate a medical practice unless they're a doctor. So again, just another example of one industry where California dictates what you can and can't do, and that's the skill that I hope I bring to a transaction, is working through these variables so that the owner of the business can exit and retire and enjoy their future.
For folks listening who could use your help and would love to speak with you regarding selling their business, or someone looking to buy a business, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, I have 2 websites. My primary website is www.Rogerson Business Services. But I also have a marketing manager. So if they just did a Google search for Andrew Rogerson Sacramento, they'd find all sorts of things pop up, and I'm pleased to say they're all good things. So if they want to do a Google search, that should bring results, and we can get connected from there.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with my audience today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thanks, Matt, for putting this together and letting me talk with you. Thanks again.
That was Andrew Rogerson with Rogerson Business Services. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.